And the picture is not all that much. I think it's like $8, $10, somewhere. That's not that bad. And again, for the passport documents, the documents that you need, especially if you're a first-time passport applier, you need your birth certificate and your driver's license, and you need copies of your driver's license front and back, and you need the recent picture. If you have kids, like Samantha said, that's when it gets tricky. So they require both parents to be present for passport applications for minors. I think it gets easier once they're 16. Once they're 16, they just want the consent of a parent. So I was just looking at that. I don't think my son's application passport is expiring anytime soon, but I think now he's at the age, he's turning 17, where he could go by himself. I don't have to go with him anymore. I might have to give a little written thing that I'm approving of it. But with minors, it gets tricky with passports. There are ways around it. Let's say if dad or mom are not in the picture regarding passports, there are ways around it. If you have a custody order and if you have full custody, and if you bring that, then that's obviously, that's your ticket right there. If you don't have a custody order, I'm sure there are still ways around it, but it gets tricky. So, and also traveling with kids, and I've traveled with my kids by myself without their dad many, many times to Germany. Usually at the border, they always ask, you know, does dad know that you're leaving with the kids? You know, because of obviously abductions and child trafficking and all of that stuff. So, also for you, I'm sure if you would fly out of the country with the kids, that would get tricky. Just make sure you have your documents. If you're traveling alone with a minor, make sure you have documents in place. And just in case if they ask for any kind of written verification from the other parent, it's good to have that so that there are not any problems. So, any other questions regarding passports? When you do travel, make sure your passport's not expiring, and also make sure you get your passport. Often when you book your tickets, you need to provide a passport number. So if you don't have a passport yet, you might not be able to book a ticket depending where you fly. So just get your passport way ahead of time. So any other questions regarding passports? All right, so then regarding the booking, has anybody booked a flight before? Okay, so it's easy. Again, I remember when I first started booking flights online, it was kind of weird, you know, because sometimes you spend so much money and then you're like, oh, did I do this right, or did I really book it right? So you just have to be really detail oriented. Make sure your name is spelled correctly. Make sure you book the right dates. Make sure you look at the departure times, especially if you're leaving out of LAX. You know, try to avoid like 5 a.m. departure, because what that means is you have to be at the airport at 3, so you have to leave like Bakersfield in the middle of the night or something. So that's always something to be mindful of. Also, try to have a plan of how you're going to get to Los Angeles if you're flying out of LAX, and how you're going to get back. If you're driving, what you're going to do with the car. There are options for airport parking there, but that's always for me the most annoyance. And then it also can get messy with the airport, like with the Grapevine, you know, you never know what's going to happen at the Grapevine. So summer you have the fire situation, in the winter you have snow. So if you're traveling from Los Angeles, just keep an eye on the Grapevine. It was only once in my 25 years that I lived in the United States where I missed my flights due to weather, but thankfully I had travel insurance. So that's another thing that I would highly recommend for you guys. I don't get travel insurance if I'm traveling locally, if I'm just getting a hotel, but if I fly overseas, I always get travel insurance. So that will cover, you know, if you can't make your flight due to weather or whatnot, or if there are any delays and you miss your connection, that'll pay for the hotel. If your luggage gets lost, that stinks. That's happened to me once also. They give you like a daily allowance that you can spend on clothes or whatnot. And it also usually covers medical emergencies. So I would highly recommend, if you're traveling out of California, to check with your medical insurance. I'm pretty sure Medi-Cal covers all of the United States. I'm pretty sure Medi-Cal might cover Canada. I'm not sure about Mexico. But when I travel outside, I do always make sure that I have medical insurance, because you simply never know. You never know, and you don't want to be stuck anywhere not having coverage. If you have private insurance, call your insurance agency before you purchase any travel insurance, health insurance. Sometimes you might be covered. So, all right, and then you just go on your trip. So again, being prepared helps. I think both of you guys said gas up. So before I go on a trip, I mean, it doesn't always go that way. I have kind of funny stories of leaving early in the morning, times at the gas station, but it's best to just gas up the day before because it's usually hectic the day you go. I have one story where I left for a soccer tournament with my kids. I think it was 4:30 in the morning and I ended up driving off with the gas pump in my car. So things like that happen, and then that delays you, like usually, not if you drive off with the gas pump in the car, but in general, getting gas usually delays you a good 15-20 minutes. So it's good to have that all taken care of. Plan, pack accordingly, plan your transportation arrangements. Also make sure if you're taking your car that your car is good, that you had a recent oil, check your oil if needed, that your tires are good, that your tires are filled up. If you feel like you don't have a reliable car, if you don't feel good with it, an option might be to rent it. Rent a car, people have done that. And then also before you go, research personal safety. Again, depending where you go. So for example, with Mexico, you have family there, so that's good. But let's say if you're going, let's say me by myself, female going to Mexico, I would want to look into that. Like, where am I going? What's safe? Which streets are safe to take or whatnot. So during COVID, obviously that was super important to look into what are the different restrictions, what are the requirements, vaccination stuff, and so forth. All right, any questions before we start kind of getting a little active regarding researching different trips and activities? No? All right, so I have a few challenges for you, and you guys are welcome to do this on your own or to partner up. So one is to research a day trip to the Getty Museum for Mother's Day. When is Mother's Day? Does everybody know when Mother's Day is? It's Sunday, yes. Okay, so I'm going to want feedback of the cost, how to do it, and so forth. Another one would be recreation. So now I want to play tennis this weekend, and I want you guys to tell me, where can I play tennis? How much does it cost? I don't know anybody that plays tennis, so how do I go about it? Another one I want you guys to research is I want to go camping in the Sequoias for Memorial Day weekends. What equipment do I need? What's the cost? Do I need to make a reservation? Where can I camp? And then another one is I want to go to Barcelona in Spain in October. So I want to know how much that will cost. Flight details, hotel, logistics, airport transportation, and so forth. And then in addition to that, I want to go on a cruise, 3-day cruise in June.
You got a lot of money.
I have a lot of money. Yep, and a lot of time. So it's kind of listed on there, and you guys can pick one of them. You guys don't have to research them all.